Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the MindShare podcast. This is season 6. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a 2-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals. REM, Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. And OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, Canada's largest provincial real estate association. Now, speaking of OREA, did you get your tickets for Reality 24? This 2-day event will bring the country's top realtors to the nation's capital, where all the decisions that affect home ownership in Canada are made. Plus, the one and only basketball Hall of Famer Magic Johnson, as well as the founder of FUBU's Damon John, will also be in the house. To learn more about the incredible speakers we have at Reality 24, the expansive trade show, the networking and after-hours events, and much more, visit realityconference.ca. Be sure to get your tickets today so you can join us at Reality 24, where every session, panel, and keynote is designed to give you a new perspective on the future of real estate. Of course, you can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of our MindShare 101 goal-setting worksheet, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 272. He is the founder and SEO director of Break the Web, a search marketing agency focusing heavily on search engine optimization and paid advertising. His career in the SEO world dates back to 2010 when he was hit headfirst with the same issue many new business owners face, bringing in new leads and revenue. This journey led him to find the SEO acronym and open a paradigm shift into the world of marketing. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is founder and SEO director of Break the Web search marketing agency, Jason Berkowitz. Jason, welcome to the MindShare podcast.
Hey, David, thanks for having me. That's quite the ego-boosting intro right there.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, man. I'm looking forward to getting into the conversation. I know it's SEO is a term that we hear so much about in today's marketing world, yet most people understand very, very little about how to take advantage of it. Plus, as the lack of understanding is there, the search for a service to help us becomes an option, but then cost seems to become very prohibitive very quickly for most small businesses. What I want to do today is I want to dive into actual strategies that our listeners can act on to help them all rank higher on Google. Now, before we get into the real meat of today's show, I want to get some context from you about you going skydiving. All right. I figured you'd like that one, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I talk a lot about fear, the concept of fear with my audience, and the fact that, fear is one of the biggest motivators. It's probably the biggest motivator we all have in life. And every time I talk about fear, I literally think of skydiving. The emotions, I guess. Well, let me ask you this. Like, what kind of emotions were running through before you first jumped? And then what did you realize about yourself after you finally actually decided to jump?
It's a great question. I think the initial driver was roller coaster ride from the sky. I think that was kind of the biggest one, is just to enjoy hauling ass down to the ground. But I think what I've learned after was the biggest thing for me. And you talk about fear. As we get older, in many different capacities, entrepreneur or not, fear gets greater. You're more risk averse. You like to calculate things. And that's a big reason why I continue to skydive, to remind me that, sometimes it's mind over matter for a lot of things.
Yep.
And fear doesn't need to get in the way of having fun and doing enjoyable things, while also at the same time, getting licensed has been a nice mental vacation for me. Because when you're jumping and you're in that zone and you're in the airport, nothing else matters. No matter what you're going through, you have to be mentally in it to have a good time, so to speak. But nothing else matters. So it's like a little mental vacation, but also fighting fear as you get older.
And then, so I mean, that feeling of actually jumping, I like I look at it like this. Like, first off, for me, I would never bungee jump, but I do believe I would skydive. Now, I've never skydived yet because there's obviously this like massive sense of fear of just actually going ahead and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. Now I know me, if I did it, I'd probably want to do it again and again and again, just based on like the way I operate. And I'm roller coasters for me, it's a rush and all that other stuff. But there's that aspect of before you do something, having fear and allowing it to stop you. And in this case, the one thing that I've learned through listening to the people that have done the jump and actually gotten past the fear and said, okay, I'm actually going to jump out of this plane. You realize you can do some amazing things once you actually do that.
Yeah, especially if you don't have to be in control of the outcome. If you wanted to jump, you would be attached to somebody who hopefully is professional, experienced, licensed. They've gone through the ringer and it's their hundredth or even thousands of time doing something like this, where you don't have to worry about what do I have to do when? How are we going to land here? What do we have to do? All that is completely gone, and you do get to enjoy the ride. So, I mean, we don't like not being in control of things, but that's one of those reasons and where it's best to avoid being in control and letting go, letting someone else take the reins and enjoying the ride, knowing that they got it and you're going to be fine.
How many jumps have you done?
A few hundred.
Oh, you jumped out of a plane a few hundred times?
I mean, there's people who have done it way more than me. I just do it for fun a few times a month. That's about
it. But it's crazy because like we sit there and we go, yeah, I'm scared. And then it's like, you've jumped out a few hundred times.
Yeah. I mean, even just the experience and the feelings that you get from the first few times versus what I experience now is completely different. Like,
yeah,
I don't get an adrenaline rush anymore, which is
not
really, unless something crazy or fun, super exciting happens. But for the most part, it's not a sensory overload. So your first jump, a lot of different feelings are going on. Your brain is just trying to make sense of everything.
The fact that you're about to jump out of a plane.
Right? Yeah. Or even in the midst of the jump, a lot of people have this issue where sometimes they don't remember parts of their jump because of the overload.
Wow.
That their brain is just trying to process what's going on. I don't have that anymore.
Okay, so hold on. You just said unless something crazy or fun happens. Okay, fun I can maybe understand. There could be a wheel. Crazy? Has anything crazy ever happened where you're thinking like, uh-oh?
Yeah, but okay, not uh-oh.
Okay, I mean, all right. That's cool.
Every licensed person is trained and they're tested on emergency procedures. So crazy, sure, but nothing out of the ordinary or unexpected.
Okay, cool.
Without diving in too much to scare people away from.
No, listen, man, it's good to hear though, right? Because like again, you get scared of that first jump. Here you are doing it a few hundred times and going, I mean, I don't know, quote unquote safe, but it's been safe. It's been good.
Yeah.
Anyways, so here, back in 2010, it seems from your bio that you were trying to grow a business, trying to bring in more leads, increase your sales, and that's when you realized that you needed to get into SEO, search engine optimization. Can you share some more details about that? That one for us to, just kind of setting the stage here for the conversation so everybody understands kind of what led you there and where the background comes from that we've brought you onto the show today as an expert to talk about this.
Yeah. So I was working as a personal trainer in downtown New York City. And when you start in a new gym in a commercial facility as a trainer, you're not the first one that they're going to throw a new business at, new signups, new members. You kind of have to go on the floor, people working out and try to disrupt their workout a little, try to go for that sales approach, which nobody likes, nobody enjoys. And then at the same time, trying to network with the membership consultants and try to say, hey, if you give me that lead and I close them, I'll give you a little bit of a kickback, kind of more informal things.
Oh,
that's all just tiring and exhausting. And okay, people are obviously Googling personal trainer NYC.
Right.
How do we get to the top? That was my brainstorm, I guess, when I was younger, I didn't even know SEO existed. And I Googled how to get to the top of Google. One rabbit hole led to another, and it brought me into the world of SEO. And through different trials, errors, I mean, SEO was very, very different back then. Everything we do now, again, just vastly different. Networked with people in the community, bartered a little bit, traded services. I couldn't afford real good education. So, hey, I'll write nutrition plans for you and your family. You just teach me some of the ropes between SEO. And that was kind of the launching pad to give me the roadmap of implementing SEO, helping a website I had at the time and built to rank towards the top for personal trainer NYC. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, personal training sucks. It's exhausting. It just wasn't for me. No, it doesn't suck. But it just wasn't for me. I'm kind of a bit more introverted, so I like being at home and in a weird. Nobody really wants to be in an office, but it's my own little personal space. And I started thinking, what if I just did this for other websites and became a freelancer? Just in nature, I went on. It was at the time eWork or Elance. Sorry, now it's Upwork.
Oh yeah,
and got my first client on Elance, which was actually my first client was about $2,000 a month. I was trying to pitch like $500 a month SEO services, and it turned out to be a really good one for a brand actually located in Canada, Kelowna, I believe.
Oh yeah, cool. West Coast.
And yeah, that was kind of where things took off. And as time went on, I realized that I couldn't do everything myself. So I had to bring in assistants, bring in specialists to help with certain things. And before you know it, here we are today. We have an agency.
Interesting. Without getting into the details of that business in Kelowna, did it have anything to do with the realm of working out or any of that stuff that you were doing in the past? Okay.
It was an outdoor furniture company.
Wow. Go figure, right? So yeah. Jay, how would you define SEO? Like, what's the definition of that?
The literal definition, search engine optimization.
Right. Yeah.
I think the way it's evolved and the processes and the philosophy has evolved to making your website as relevant as possible for a specific search intent. Why is someone making a search? Are you there to offer an answer to a question that they might just be Googling? Or are you there to offer a product or a service that they have? And making sure that you're trustworthy, relevant, as authoritative as possible for that specific intent. That's the process of SEO and all the action items that lead up to that.
Gotcha. So like, is SEO something right now that more and more companies are getting involved with, or is this something that might be trending the other way just because of other available options out there?
I definitely think it's more popular than ever. It's also more challenging than ever, especially with a lot of noise in our industry related to spam, AI, spam, low quality results, which is very relevant right now in our world. But also more brands are needing to optimize their website, not just for Google, but also now for other search engines like Bing, DuckDuckGo. And if you want to classify social media sites as a search engine, I personally don't, but some people do. So just trying to optimize your website as best as possible. At the same time, trying to provide value to people. We're more cynical than ever, especially in we know when we're being sold to. It's kind of obvious, or you have all those old school sales tactics that still are very prevalent in human to human communication. People are going to be looking for different options online and making sure that you're clearly a standout differentiator there. More important than ever.
So what would you say if I said what are some of the biggest myths around SEO itself? I mean, I would throw out there and say, from all the digging that we've always done as a business, and we run a couple businesses, and we focus very heavily on marketing. One of the things that I've always found is it is a very expensive endeavor. Is that just a myth? Is that the case? It could be. It could not be. I guess that's one specific one that I might say I've got around the whole idea of it, and just the research we've done in the past. But what would you say again are some of those biggest myths about the whole process of SEO?
So that could definitely be a myth. The budget requirements are expenses, but also I guess the biggest myth is that SEO is dead or SEO is going away. AI this, shiny object that. SEO, for as long as there's going to be organic results that are driven by an algorithm, SEO will always have a need. The processes and evolutions might shift, but SEO will always be around. And related to pricing and expenses, SEO is expensive. It doesn't have to be. You can, on the cheap side, hire someone who's just getting their feet wet in SEO, but just needs a website to actually work on. Really good SEOs maybe have built their own websites for fun or things that they're interested in.
Right.
But sometimes they do need a website or maybe even a small budget just to help cover some of their hard costs. Can be a great way of getting somebody who's just starting with SEO. And very cost effective because they haven't been able to prove their worth in terms of monetary value just yet. But it's a good way for them getting their feet in the door. But if you don't want to go that route, then SEO can get expensive, especially the more competitive things are. Right. More requirements and things you need for the SEO campaign that can raise the price. And then whether you go with an agency or you bring someone in-house, go with a freelancer versus an agency. There's all these different aspects that can absolutely impact costs.
So from that, then, like, as you brought up Google a moment ago and DuckDuckGo and Bing and, I guess the tie-in with SEO to Google, how does it tie in, like, to leverage the algorithms, right? Because I know, look, everybody wants to rank number one, and be able to be seen by anybody that puts in a query that is going to, pull up your business, your service. We all want to be, the first there. We want to be the first option. But again, tying everything in together, right? Like to be able to leverage those search engines. How does this all work? Like what, and I know that's a loaded question for sure. We can't get into the depths of that completely, but the idea around SEO, optimizing my own website, tying it into Google is to make the algorithms work. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, I mean, Google's primarily focused on quality results. That's really what they want, is to, outside of getting money from people, answer questions that people are asking for. Again, whether it's informational or whether it's a bit more transactional. Really, the best way, as we classify in the world of SEO, into feeding that information that you are the best, so to speak, is two main aspects: on-page SEO and off-page SEO. I
was going to bring that up, actually. Okay, go for it. What's the difference between those two?
One action is taking place on your website. The other action is taking place off of your website. So things that are on your website, we'll get to that.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
On-page SEO, just making sure that your page is automatically relevant for the intent. So usually driven by market or keyword research to help you understand what people are searching for, making sure that your page is optimized. And that can be the little minutia aspects like page title, headers, content, internal linking, technical SEO, your tech stack, speed. But then off-page SEO is used to signal trust. So while on-page SEO is for relevance, everyone can be relevant. You, your competitors can write really awesome content.
Okay.
Technically, content quality and what's better than the others is subjective, but sometimes you do need other off-page SEO signals to signal trust. So if I ask, the classic example I tend to always use is, hey, David, do you know a plumber? And you're going to say, yeah, Jason, use ABC Plumber. I trust ABC Plumber because it came from your recommendation.
Right.
So when a website links and is authoritative and trustworthy and relevant, from them over to you, that's passing some good trust signals. And I'm keeping this broad a little bit.
Yeah. No,
it
for
can
sure.
get really technical in terms of the type of links and stuff, but links mimic natural word of mouth.
But that's what we might hear as a term called backlinks.
Backlinks, off-page SEO,
right?
SEO-driven digital PR. There's a lot of weird nomenclatures nowadays for it. But yeah.
Interesting. So the on-page, again, is what you're doing with your actual pages, your website, and then the off-page is actually what's going on maybe on other people's websites that kind of direct them to you. Did I get that kind of right?
Yeah. I mean, technically, yeah. It's, let's say you have a big promotion or a new product launch that's going out and it gets picked up by a bunch of online publishers. They spread the word. If they have a clickable text from their website and their page that is already authoritative, trustworthy, valuable in the eyes of Google, not only could it pass people coming over to your website, audiences, conversions, but it could also pass SEO equity from their website.
So I'm a business owner. I find 5 other businesses to collaborate with, and they all have their own websites. And I say to them, hey, put my logo link on your website. Naturally, that would be helpful. Does that actually help me just for the fact that there's a connection there? Does that actually help me already? Or is it the action of people clicking on it that's going to help?
Less of the action, the link itself is what would help.
Okay. So like if I could get my site on 5 other people's websites, that's actually a big bonus for me.
That's where the classic phrasing in our industry is, it depends.
Oh, yeah.
It may or may not help.
Yeah, okay.
It's the most ambiguous thing where it's not something we would actively do and try to get our clients to collaborate with other brands, especially if it's a competing brand. There's no way in hell they're going to link to you.
Of course. But like collaborations with other businesses or services, like again, if we're talking like as a realtor right now in the real estate industry, they're trying to not only work their database, but get to know people in the community. Well, part of getting to know people in the community could be like the local stores that are in the community. They all have maybe their own website there, somehow connecting with those guys and get your website on their website.
Yeah, as long as it serves a true purpose. If it's just there on a page just for having that link, it may not be as valuable as, maybe you sponsored a 5K locally.
Okay.
You're trying to help with your local SEO presence. That can have a little bit of value, but also the context matters too of the link. Google has patents to show whether it's implemented or not. That's a different story, but they have patents in their algorithm that show that they do like to take surrounding context of a link into consideration when it comes to thematic trust being passed. So if it's a logo, yeah, that still could pass SEO value potentially. But if you were cited as a resource, if you were writing an article about local market trends taking place, and a local newspaper picked you up and cited your page as the source of information, that passes.
Gotcha.
SEO value.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. So, is SEO the same as running ads, whether banner ads, YouTube ads, social media ads? I know we brought that up a second ago. What is the big difference that everybody needs to be aware of between that?
That you can't predict the outcome. That's probably the biggest one, is that when you pay ads, if you have a good ads framework, strategy, you click this button, you give this amount of money, there's a potential you can get exactly this amount of return, whether it's clicks, conversions, audience, newsletter signups, whatever it might be. Yeah. Whereas SEO, you're bound by an algorithm that sometimes doesn't do its job as well as it should. So it's not as transparent to calculate ROI. Right. It's not as transparent to calculate or predict outcomes and expectations from a campaign. You're dependent on an algorithm. And that's the big one. At the same time, though, I don't know if the data is still the same, but most people are clicking organically and want to skip ads to begin with. So you can capture free clicks, so to speak, as well, if you do secure your brand online. Whereas you're not paying per click, whether it is YouTube, Google Ads, Facebook, there's ways in which you could be paying per impression or paying per click.
Yeah, I think that and I totally understand what you just said to that, right? Because again, one of the things that we do, especially within our coaching programs and whatnot, and working with our clients, is a lot of tracking, right? Data tracking, and understanding, where did the business come from? And when we can figure out what the source of the business is, and we can start to leverage what we know through our data, and then be able to look back at the trends of where things are coming from, we can now essentially, double down in certain areas to be able to say, okay, I'm going to do more in that space. And one thing that we do talk about a lot is track it. So if somebody did say, hey, I found you online, we say, okay, website. You assume website, right? And then you go, okay, so was I putting stuff together there to optimize my website, right? So speaking of optimize my website, then how do I optimize my website? Do I need to hire a company? Can I do this on my own?
I think that would come down to, what does your day-to-day look like? And do you have the mental bandwidth to try and learn SEO? If you're an entrepreneur, you probably know that you don't need to be the jack of all trades, so to speak. There's probably someone you can hire who can do things way better than you. And delegation is probably, at times, more fruitful for you, the brand, than trying to just add another thing onto your plate. At the same time, if you do have the capacity and the bandwidth, there's a lot of free resources online to learn how to do some basic on-page SEO optimizations. A good head start on building that foundation. So I'm going to come back to this thing about cost. And I know this is going to be a loaded one here, Jay, but what kind of average cost are we looking at when we think about hiring somebody to do it, for our business? Can our small businesses even actually afford a strategy like this? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like that answer. That's cool. Yes. If you have things being optimized properly in your business, like your finances, your P&L statements are good, your overall profit, and you're not just sucking money dry. If you're also not taking away money from yourself, as owners and entrepreneurs and leaders in small businesses, reason why you do what you do is for the monetary advantages as well. But you're also taking on a lot of risks, so it kind of balances itself out in a way. Yes, brands can afford SEO. SEO can be cheap, can be expensive, depends on a lot of different factors. Something weary about something being too good to be true. If someone's promising the world and paying a few $100 a month, I'd be careful of that. At the same time, if something seems a bit too expensive, I think they say that there's value in like cost equals good, or like expensive equals good. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
Maybe.
Right? You never know.
Also, what's expensive to somebody is subjective. Based on your status in life, your business, your brand, where you live, who you're hiring from.
Like I have seen where people come at you and say, it's $5,000 a month, right? Or they'll bill you per page. And you just start to look at the cost and say, it's again, back to what you said a moment ago about almost tracking that and saying there's direct ROI from it. It's a large investment to be able to say, I'm going to go ahead and try to work with this and have somebody come in and do it for me and spend a lot of money on it monthly without being able to sit back and say, well, am I getting the ROI? Right? Because if I look at an average price, I say a couple grand a month. And I know that's totally like just out of thin air, right? But you go, right, well, okay, so to that, am I high? Am I low on something like that?
It depends. I think any good SEO specialist worth their salt won't be charging any less than $1,000 per month.
Okay, right. And that's what I'm saying. It's like,
and that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no. Listen, man, I'll tell you. Like I've seen stuff that is, people tell you like $500, and you're like, oh, why is that person got like one less zero than the average of the people that I normally talk to? What's the difference?
Yeah,
what am I going to get
especially if you equate hours spent to budget, like, okay, you're going to promise this result, but if your hourly rate, let's say behind the scenes, maybe $100 an hour, I'm only getting 5 hours of your help per month. And what is that going to lead into?
Right.
And that's, back into businesses trying to associate time estimates with costs. Something to consider, they may have automations, they may have cheap labor to help with things, but a good SEO, whether it's a freelancer or an agency, probably knows they can charge. So it also could be, in a way, value-based pricing, which very much also has some benefits too.
So if we said, 5 hours a month, what would be the typical kind of time that we're spending trying to, on SEO in a month to work on a website? And sorry, does that stop? Is it like, okay, we're there, you don't have to do it anymore because it's optimized, or is this something we got to continue to work on a regular?
It's definitely something you have to continue working on regularly if you want to maintain. You can work to improve, and then when you get to where you are, some level of maintenance probably helps. You don't have to continue. You can stop if you want.
No, but like if you worked on like page 1 of my website, optimized the whole thing, said, okay, Dave, here's the bill, whatever. We're going to page 2 now. Maybe there's a little bit of maintenance on page 1 along the way, but have we pretty much done what we had to do there, and we can now keep moving? Or is this something like, sorry, I totally cut you off, but is this something where like I've got to go back to page 1 next month again and just make sure everything's still working?
I think monitoring is a good way. Just making sure everything is still I's are dotted, T's are crossed is a great way to maintain while still improving. And good SEO strategy is not necessarily focused on, okay, we're going to do this page this month, and you're going to pay per page, and you're going to do the next page the next month. It should be a culmination of activities to help the site overall. You might have specific targets that you're going to actively be tracking, maybe put a little bit more time into for improvements than others, as well as maybe helping with digital PR or backlinking too, as well. But the goal should be to improve the site overall. So talking about tracking, how we define our top level KPIs or trackable metrics is first, non-branded organic traffic increases to target URLs. Ones that are top of mind, ones that'll hopefully bring in money in some way.
Hold on, explain that again. Non-branded, say it again.
Organic traffic. So people that are coming in from search queries that do not include your brand, meaning people have not already heard of you before. So new audiences that,
Give me an example of how would that happen?
Plumber Toronto. If I click on a listing, that website just achieved a non-branded click, technically, because I didn't know of ABC Plumbers beforehand.
Got you. Okay.
So it's somebody it's just non-branded awareness.
So,
and the second KPI would be, in that aspect, non-branded increases to the domain overall. Clicks increases from traffic into people who have never heard of you before.
Right.
So I can
that's through a search query again on a website or on one of the search engines.
on Google on one of the search engines. Yeah. So if I type in
Realtor Toronto,
versus ABC Realtors in Toronto.
Yeah.
ABC is a branded search query.
Right.
Non-branded would be one that excludes the brand.
Got you. Yep.
The whole goal of marketing is to bring in people that have never heard of you before. So sorry, my Google's going off.
It's like, hold on, I'll get that for you.
It went and searched difference between real estate agent and realtors. That's interesting. Big Brother's always listening, right?
Dude, those things are scary, man. I'm telling you. Like, I mean, it's even like right now we're looking down. I guarantee I'm going to get a whole bunch of ads on my phone about SEO as I like turn it on after. Even though you think the phone's off, it's actually like unfortunately not. But another conversation for another day there. So Realtor Toronto. So if I said, okay, I want to show up. Somebody typed in Realtor Toronto, I want to show up. I guess one of the questions there is SEO the be all and end all to me increasing my brand awareness online? What else could I be doing to be able, well, okay, two questions to that. One, if I said I want to be the guy that shows up Realtor Toronto, like I want to be one of the first results that come up off of that search. Again, in short form, because I know it goes way deeper when I ask you this question, but what do I need to be doing to make that happen? Like what things does my website need to have part of it?
First thing, check and see if it's realistic for you to be at the top. What type of websites are being shown? Is it realtor.com type websites or directory type websites where it's a culmination or a list of different realtors? Is there many other brands like yours ranking towards the top? If there are, then yeah, with some effort, you might be able to actively compete. If it's big wig directories, may not be as fruitful. So time to the other question, SEO is not always the end all be all, and it's one of many different marketing verticals, and good digital marketing overall is the cross intersection between the different marketing verticals. But first and foremost, check and see what the market demand looks like. What type of queries are people typing in? What's the volume? Sometimes even low search volume for a given keyword might not be bad if the conversion intent is super high. So I typed in foreclosure realtor in Toronto. It's a little bit more intent specific, so conversion value is significantly higher. And seeing what's realistic, what's not, would be probably the first thing. Is like, can I actively compete here? And then if you're local, Google Business Profiles will probably help you if you do see kind of like a little map snippet in the search results.
Right. Okay. So getting myself part of a bunch of that stuff, so that again, it's almost, similar to some of these backlinks, I guess we're talking about. Now we had a question come through here that somebody was asking, why do you not consider social platforms as an SEO when people now when they're looking for something would be searching TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc.?
Because YouTube, TikTok doesn't aggregate content from third parties. It's all aggregated content from their own specific party. Whereas Google, they want to keep people on Google because it helps drive ad revenue. But their sources of information sometimes are from third parties, and they're directing people to other websites. Whereas social platforms like YouTube, TikTok, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, whether you want to classify that as SEO, that's a debate over whiskey or something.
Okay.
But
that's right. Whiskey's a thing for you too. I remember I saw that.
Tequila, whiskey. You're just getting curated content from within its own platform based on their algorithm. So if one influencer has better engagements than the other, then of course, maybe that might be some aspect of optimization, so to speak. But is it a search engine in the traditional sense?
Right.
Maybe that verbiage has slightly evolved and is changing a little bit. But the curation of content being third party or first party is where I see the big difference. And hopefully that answered the question. And these are one of those debates that at the end of the day doesn't really matter about anything. But
no, listen, somebody asked you, but the question I would take to go further on that, I guess it spawns a couple questions there. Is one, in my mind, right? And we, MindShare, happen to put out a bunch of content. Like we put out a lot of content. We leverage email, we leverage social media, we leverage the various platforms across social media. We leverage our website, of course. And so through all these different channels, we're really, I guess we have a lot of support mechanism across, the sort of online world around how you could find us and what you could consume in terms of content and learning, etc. And so one of those, sparks a question there saying, well, we're putting out a lot of content. And as SEOs looking for relevant content, does the content we're putting across social media help with any of this anyway? Like, do I need a strong social media presence in order? Do I need a strong social media presence, to have good SEO? As part of my SEO strategy?
Impact.
Sorry?
There's no direct impact with social and SEO. There might be many cases in which it can indirectly help SEO. Someone finds your content, they link to you, someone shares things around. Most of the SEO benefits will all just be considered indirect. It's been proven time and time again that social efforts don't necessarily help a website rank. You can also help your social media platforms rank, but that's, again, diving into a different subject.
Yeah.
But you publishing on social media is great for your brand. It's great for digital marketing, but in terms of impacting your website specifically for SEO, minimal direct impact there.
Okay, what if I'm tying in my website? I'm giving a like a freebie within my content, and I'm saying go to my website to get this, like a lead magnet. Does that help?
Might help you with conversion and traffic, but SEO benefits, again, no direct. If somebody shares your page around, and they link to it in the form of a backlink, that could potentially help from an SEO perspective. With that, again, would probably be indirect. Okay,
so then if I let's say I decide to invest in SEO, and I decide to spend some money on this, and I want to get my website ranking higher, and I want to come up in the search results, what else do I need to be doing to support that strategy? Like, what needs to be part of my marketing strategy or even my daily routine in order to ensure that I'm actually maximizing? Because again, love what we said earlier on, it's a tough thing to measure ROI. The KPIs there are very different than what you might look and say, I posted this video, somebody commented, I got, 100 likes or 1,000 likes or whatever. You might not say that's monetized, but we can see, again, direct results from posting. When we come back to SEO, as we said earlier, you're going into the back end of your website and you're optimizing things to make sure that, hey, the algorithms will figure out that you exist when somebody goes to type in a certain query. So again, the question is, what needs to be part of the marketing strategy or even my daily routine in order to try to really maximize this if I decide to get into it?
So we can take the on-page SEO aspects and just dissect them out to a bunch of different areas. One of them is contextual relevance. Is that page satisfying the intent? If someone's asking, what are the real estate trends for 2025?
Right.
And you're trying to rank a service page or a lander that's a bit more transactional, doesn't align with the trend. Someone's probably looking for a bit more of a long form informational article. So making sure that your content or the page that you're trying to associate with a query has the same search intent, that intent is being satisfied. Then it can be subsected into the way pages are interlinking to each other. If maybe an article you have has tons of really great press, tons of really great backlinks, and it's doing well from an SEO perspective, but it's so informational, like top of the funnel, that it's not going to convert really well. Maybe you can pass SEO value by internally linking to a bottom of the funnel page, like a service page or a lander or a promotional page. Then it could also be added, subsected into page speed, user experience, technical loading, the way your website is being rendered, not only by our browsers, but even Google. What type of scripts and resources are being required for the page to load? Is the page HTML size really large? So those are all various aspects that are worth looking at. And, there are some tools to help you gauge that. It's for free. You can add your website to Google Search Console. If they see anything weird or alarming, it's good insights into how they're viewing your website. It may not always be the end all be all with their recommendations, but they do give you a little bit of insights.
So here's one that I just thought about was, does Google provide a list anywhere of specific details that you need to incorporate into your website to maximize SEO? Like, is there somewhere you could go to Google and say, hey, tell me what you want to see?
That would be cool.
Right? Like, that's what I'm...
Yeah. I mean, I could probably talk about expenses and budget requirements. It's quite the ask. Google Search Console can give you some insights as to errors and things that you're doing really great at from a performance standpoint. So you can see a limited amount of queries that are driving in traffic, or in which your website's also appearing for the impressions. You can also see, okay, if Google's seeing, hey, you have a bunch of pages that are linking to a page not found on your website, a 404, Google can act as a crawler and notify you of that. So it's areas for improvement and optimizations.
So from a content perspective, then when it comes to my site, the social content I'm creating is not really tied in to the SEO aspect of the website. Should I be thinking, what if I'm loading all of those videos and all those articles that I'm doing through social onto a page or pages on my website? I imagine that begins to help it.
Yeah, I mean, that's content curation.
Right.
That's really great. And if the page is optimized for the same intent that somebody would be watching the video for,
right,
then absolutely can help get more page views, can help tremendously with just creating more intent. Or
so creating content is actually a beneficial thing for me when it comes to all of this.
Yeah, you could blend it all in together. And, that's good marketing is, like maybe asking the sales team, what are commonly asked questions that you get regarding our product or service? And then having a video on it on YouTube, having an article on it, bringing them two together, that can also be beneficial.
What if the page had a number of videos that answered a whole bunch of different questions? Does that lower the SEO on that page in terms of searchability because that page has a lot of different things on it?
It might. Again, that's one of those, it depends. It depends on the intent and the query. I would definitely think about page loading as well.
Yeah.
If everything's being embedded, maybe you can do lazy loading or things you can do from a technical side of things. But I mean, if you have a resource library of videos, but all those videos are revolved around the same search intent, there may be a series of videos that answers the same question or answers the question, but in steps, that can be fine.
Okay. So I've always thought that, look, I'm in Canada, I'm in Toronto, you're in Salt Lake. If you type something in Realtor Toronto while you're sitting at your desk right now, and I type in Realtor Toronto while I'm sitting at my desk right now, do you and I get the same search results?
Depends.
Jeez.
I know, right?
What does it depend on? Like, seriously, Jay, I think to myself that there's like some sort of like glass wall at that border when it comes to cyberspace. And I feel like if you Google something from the States, you're going to get one set of results. If you Google something from Canada, you're going to get another set of results.
If you have a geo modifier in the query, like Toronto, you may help bridge that gap and get them closer together. It also depends on if you're logged in or not, your previous browsing history, your location too, very well might matter. If I Google Realtor Toronto, I might see the centroid of the city, where what Google classifies to be right middle of center city. But if you're in the suburb right outside Toronto, you might see results that are a bit more localized to your specific suburb.
Right. So Google's definitely mastered that. So there's definitely a difference then. Because I think that we all wonder, right? Like you look at a population side that is 100 times bigger, south of the border where you guys are. And obviously, there's a lot of businesses up here in Canada, not just in the real estate world, but just any businesses. I'd include my own as well. We would love more exposure to a much bigger audience, and the bigger audience is south of that border. However, I do believe that there is some sort of, again, like I just said, glass wall in between it all in cyberspace that goes, we're not going to show that down there.
I mean, if you service all of North America, then you very well could rank in the US.
Yeah.
If you ship and it's clear and, maybe it's worthwhile if you're in the e-com side. For example, we have a lot of clients that are in e-com and they have international parts of their website to service different locales, like Canada, like UK, like the EU, or various parts of Europe, in which their website is divided by localization for that exact reason. where you could have, this is getting really technical.
Yeah, no, it totally is. Because I was going to say to you next, like, how do you divide your website to do that?
Different installations of your website on a very simple form, the CMS or whatever platform your site is on. In an ideal world, it can be domain.com/US.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Or
okay.
If need be, us.domain.com.
So does my website then need to have all the bells and whistles, whatever anybody might, qualify that as, but like, does it have to be a big fancy schmancy website in order to completely optimize?
No. Again, if you're matching the intent, then why not? For example, my brother, he's in architectural photography.
Yeah.
His website is just his portfolio.
Okay.
But that satisfies the intent of someone who wants to probably see his work, where it's kind of just visual.
Yeah.
Can Google see the quality of work being better than another? That's a different conversation. But if the intent is being matched, then it doesn't necessarily matter. If you do need to compete in a higher market, then maybe getting as much as you can done to help supplement other areas could be better. But at the end of the day, all this SEO effort is worthless if people aren't going to convert. So if you just have buttloads of text with big paragraphs that look horrible, and we've all seen them out there in the ether, then what's the point? Yeah, sure, you're ranking, and that helps the SEO agency, I guess, maybe get another month out of you. But if it's not bringing conversions, customers, sales, is the SEO effort really worth it?
Fair enough. So then, so I guess when it comes to SEO in its entirety, am I making a huge mistake if I don't leverage SEO to grow my brand? And in real simple terms, what action steps do you suggest I can do today? And I being like all of our listeners after being tuned into this episode.
I think SEO is not viable for everyone. It's not viable for every brand. First and foremost, if people aren't typing in what you offer and there is no demand, SEO is not good for market creators. They can be good for market disruptors.
Okay.
If you're the first one to create the industry, may not be a lot of people searching. And maybe if there's crossover industries, sure, you can try to convert them over into your way of thinking, but that's a much harder sell than it is for people who are already aware. It's not viable for everyone. I think that should be kind of like the big takeaway is first understand what's realistic, what's not. Are people actively typing things in where, hey, my brand should be showing up? Rightfully so. I'm biased that my brand's the best, but for my marketing efforts, it would be nice for us to appear among our competitor set. If you're not seeing any other brands that do what you do or on the same level or same playing field, maybe you are stuck with just realtor directories. It may not be worth the investment, time, mental annoyances that come along with SEO, because SEO is annoying in many ways, as we've talked about.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of like back end minutia that has to happen in order to make it work, right? So,
yeah.
So let's go back to this idea of, when I asked you about skydiving, okay, and I brought up this concept of fear. What would you say to anybody who is scared to explore this avenue of SEO for their business?
The fear should be something that you're all too comfortable with. If you're in business for yourself, then you're aware of the emotional roller coasters that come with running this business.
Fair.
And just like every decision leading up to it, there is no guarantee. There's no guarantee that you made a great hire. There's no guarantee that your website's going to work if you hired a crappy hosting company. There's really no guarantee. There's no guarantee that the economy is going to work the way we want it to. But at the end of the day, if you have a team you're working with that you trust, they have a proven framework, they have case studies to back it up, they have testimonials from people just like you, then just like everything else, it's taking the leap. And if you're now willing to take, I don't want to make this about SEO specifically, but you have to take risks, especially owning a small business, being an entrepreneur. The whole journey is risk taking from start to finish, if you finish.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. So sometimes you just got to trust your gut or not. And your gut can tell you not to do SEO, which is totally cool also. So the, you spend your days on this, do you? Now I'm thankfully, I still very much do, but now again, I'm kind of on the back end of the agency side of things.
Okay. So running a business.
Exactly. Working on the business, not in the business.
Right? Okay, cool. So, you've gotten up today, you've done everything you possibly can, you've put in all your effort, the day has come to a close for you. How do you know it's been a successful day for you?
Stress level for me personally.
Okay.
Stress or fear that things aren't completed, and then thinking about what I might have to do the next day to make up for it. So if I have, because very much we have people internally that will assign me things to do that I have to get done.
Right.
And if I'm dropping the ball or I'm not getting things done on time or I'm not prioritizing correctly, or someone has to wait on something, maybe it's a delivery for a client and it's waiting on me, that'll bug me out and I probably would work a little bit extra to get it done. Or again, me personally, I get some bits of insomnia. Like yesterday, it happens to be one of those examples where I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. My brain turned on. I was screwed. No chance of going back to sleep.
Yeah.
So I started my day at 2 a.m.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, sure. And I hope to end the day a little bit earlier because I got a lot done during the quiet hours. I didn't. So I ended up having a really long day, but I also felt very fulfilled. Like I got a lot done, things that I had to do plus more. Things that maybe I didn't want to do, I was procrastinating on. Things that were annoying, time consuming, things that are not like my expertise. I'm an SEO guy. So like learning about P&L statements and categorizations and things like that aren't the sexiest of topics.
Yeah.
So
cool. Jay, any final words of wisdom today to help everybody that's tuned in get out there, build some more mind share so that they get more market share?
Consider SEO. That's really it. And do your due diligence. Trust your gut.
Cool. It's interesting conversation today, man. Some good learning, some good insights. I think this obviously the conversation can go a lot deeper into the technical aspects of it all. But I think that we definitely got deeper than surface level, to help people understand it better, to help people understand what it's all about and why they want to introduce it. I do believe that for anybody that is in business, as you're thinking about, growing your business and brand awareness and your online presence, in my mind, some degree of SEO is a must because it is going to naturally help you, rank higher through the algorithms on these big search engines, pop up more. And we all know, perception is reality, whether it's the exact right direction or not. But when you do see a particular company, brand, whatnot, popping up on the first page and it's coming up consistently, there's something to be said about the fact that brand has obviously earned something through the search engines to be able to be there. And so if your brand can start to become that, people are going to naturally not only just know you and like you, but begin to trust you. Moreover, because Google said, hey, trust them. And that, Jay, I think that comes back to something we said right off the top today around even if you're, kind of connected to another website, that trust factor or the fact that I said, yeah, use Jay, right? That in and of itself, anybody that trusts me will go, well, if Dave's saying, yeah, go ahead and use the guy, then we trust him too.
Yeah.
So SEO certainly helps with it all. But Jay, this has been an insightful conversation. I thank you very much for joining us on the MindShare podcast today. I
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You bet, man. You bet. You are either listening to this on one of your favorite podcast platforms, or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you are there, be sure to download your free copy of our MindShare 101 goal setting worksheet to help you conquer 2024 and become the version of you that you really want to be. A reminder as well that if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching and in-person keynote talk for your upcoming event and or ongoing virtual training, just get in touch with me. We'll set up a consultation call, learn more about what you're looking to achieve and how we can help you do just that. Of course, for all inquiries, just get in touch with us today. Don't forget to leave a review of this podcast at www.ratethispodcast.com/MindShare101. Again, that's ratethispodcast.com/MindShare101. Real easy and simple way to leave us a review and a big 5-star rating. We are super grateful that you would do that. Connect with me on Facebook at MindShare101. On TikTok at MindShare101, on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. As always, just before we sign off, I want to take a quick moment to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems, REM Magazine, and OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, for sponsoring this episode of the MindShare podcast. Be sure to visit realityconference.ca to see everything we have in store for you in Ottawa next week, and to get your tickets right now. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.